Good evening. It is now 5 p.m. and we call the special meeting to order. We will start with a roll call of the board for attendance. I will call each board member's name, and if present, they will say present. Director Cook?
Present.
Director Williams?
Present.
Vice President Gregory?
Present.
And I am present. Director Williams, will you lead us in the pledge?
Gladly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome. This is a meeting of the Kent School District Board, which is held in public to comply with the Open Public Meetings Act. This is a public interview to fill the board vacancy for Director District Number 1. The board thanks those who inquired and all who applied. Once interviews are complete, the board will recess for an executive session to further discuss the candidates' qualifications. The board will then reconvene to deliberate and take action to select the successful candidate. We thank those of you who have come to this meeting and those who are viewing via our live stream. And I invite Director Cook to read our land acknowledgement.
It's the top of the second page.
Right here.
This one? Okay, thank you. The Kent School District Board of Directors acknowledges we reside on the traditional lands of the Muckleshoot Indian Tribe, who have lived in this region since time immemorial. We honor their continued stewardship to this land, its waters, and its communities. We commit to ongoing learning, meaningful partnerships with Native communities, and uplifting the sovereignty of the Muckleshoot people.
Thank you. As a reminder, this is a public interview. It is critical that the audience remain silent and respectful throughout the proceedings for all candidates to interview equitably. We appreciate that our candidates have willingly stepped up to be considered for this important position. Each finalist is allotted 30 minutes for their interview. For the benefit of the board and public, here is a recap of the timeline established to comply with RCW 28A.343.370 to fill this vacancy for Director District Number 1. All vacancy information was posted on the Kent School District website Friday, April 24th, 2026. Board accepted resignation announced vacancy on Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. Application opened Friday, April 24th, 2026. Application closed Friday, May 15th, 2026 at 5:00 p.m. Applications reviewed Wednesday, May 20th, 2026 via executive session. Finalists announced Wednesday, May 20th, 2026 via special public meeting. Public interview selection is this evening, Tuesday, June 9th, 2026 via special public meeting and executive session. The appointment will be in effect from the time of oath of office on Wednesday, June 24th, 2026, until the beginning of the regular board meeting on Wednesday, December 8th, 2027. And I do have a statement to read.
Oh, that's after this.
After? Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, right before number 2.
Okay, thank you. My apologies. It is important to note that 2027 is the election year for Director District Number 1. Any qualifying persons interested in holding the seat for a 4-year term, including the appointed board director, must submit their declaration of candidacy during candidate filing week with the King County Elections Office. Candidate filing week opens May 2027. The candidate filing week dates are not posted yet for 2027. If 3 or more candidates file for the position during the candidate filing week, the race will appear on the August 2027 primary election. If there are 2 candidates or less, the race will skip the primary and candidates will automatically advance to the general election in November 2027. Okay, thank you. Tonight, the board expects to appoint a director-elect to fill the vacancy. Pursuant to procedure 1114P, which has been amended and posted for informational review at the June 10th, 2026 board meeting. The director-elect's term will commence upon taking the oath of office. The oath is anticipated to be administered at the board's regular meeting on June 24th, 2026, following the completion of all required human resource documentation, background screening, and other administrative requirements. RCW 28A.343.370 is the statutory provision related to the filling of board vacancies. Candidates will be sworn in on Wednesday, June 24th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. We now move to item 2.0, and we will start with the Director District Number 1 board vacancy. I will read the schedule. From 5:10 to 5:40 p.m., candidate number 1, Stephanie Brakes. 5:45 to 6:15 p.m., candidate number 2, Christopher Vasquez. 6:20 to 6:50 p.m., candidate number 3, Jimmy Call. 6:50 to 7 p.m., there will be a 10-minute break. At this time, can we ask the staff to bring the first candidate from the waiting room?
Absolutely, President McGill. We will have the first candidate, Stephanie Briggs.
Hi, Stephanie. Hi. And I think you should have water and a pen and paper if you'd like to take notes.
I'm ready.
But thank you for being here. We will kind of round robin with our questions. And we did have a schedule from 5:10 to 5:40. Do we have to wait until 5:10 specifically?
You can proceed forward.
Okay, thank you. And then we will just start the timer for a half an hour.
Great.
Stephanie, tell us about yourself and why you want to be a board member.
Great, thank you. Well, thank you guys for having me today. I am really excited to be here. Like you've probably already heard, my name is Stephanie Brakes. I did notice Brakes, yes. So I've lived in Kent since 2010. We purposely chose to buy here for the neighborhoods, for the family feel of it all. And now raising a family, 2 kids go to elementary school here, and middle school also. And so I'm just deeply invested in Kent and the life that we've made here, and we don't see any reason to leave here. Professionally, I grew up in public schools, so that is really important to me too, to make sure our kids are getting a public education. East Pierce County, graduated from Bethel High School, went on to get my bachelor's degree in public relations from Western Washington University. During the pandemic, I thought that'd be a really good time to get my master's degree, so I did that. So I graduated with a 4.0 GPA from the University of Southern California with my master's in communication management with a focus on organizational strategy. So I took that into my professional career, 18 years at an engineering firm, starting in marketing and moving into the director of communications role, working closely with that firm's board of directors, CEO, to do all the communications from there. And so now I'm here.
Thank you very much. Director Cook?
First off, I want to say that these questions were decided without my input whatsoever. So I'm going to go through them, but I had no input on them. What are your experiences in the public school K-12 system as either an employee, parent, and/or volunteer?
Great. Yes. So my kids started in kindergarten here, and I immediately joined the PTSA at our school and started volunteering in the classroom. I've been on dozens of field trips, was an art docent in classrooms, all the classroom parties, making gingerbread houses, all of that, and ultimately took on a leadership position in the PTSA, which has taught me a lot about how the school buildings work, how the teachers work, how the administration works, how all of that plays a part in building the school community, and have been the secretary, vice president, and president over those years. And one of the, we hadn't reviewed our standing rules, which is an important part of what a board does, in I don't know how long. And so that was one of my big initiatives when I first became president, was to make sure that we were following the standing rules that we had, appropriate standing rules, make sure that all of our policies were the right things to do. So like administrative side of things was being done was really important. And I think serves the school ultimately when we're doing the right things consistently. And then last year I had the opportunity to work with the current principal and former principal to throw the 25th anniversary party for the community, for the staff. We had over 100 people came. We had a catered dinner, there's a slideshow, presentations. It was just really fantastic. And so that really made me feel like deeply involved in that community as well.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for being here. How would your lived and professional experience impact and inform your approach to building a healthy and collaborative learning community as a board member in service of students, their families, and staff?
Great. I think that my lived experience, obviously, here in Kent, I have worked really hard to build a community here, both through the PTSA I already described, and my kids are involved in sports organizations in Kent. So meet lots of parents through that who are all part of the community and hear what they have to say and understand that, you know, we're all kind of facing similar things, even if we go to different places or different schools. So I think that's one really important part of my lived experience that would help me to build a healthy community. But my professional experience, that's like what I did all day. So my job was to ensure that the people who worked at the organization felt like they were part of a good community, that the clients who hired that company were valued and felt important, and then industry overall at large. So I spent my entire professional career ensuring that the messages were clear, concise, and hit the audience at the right time to serve whatever that purpose was for whatever that message was. So, sorry.
Thanks. What would you say, I'll start over. What would you consider to be the challenges in public education today, and how would you prioritize these challenges?
Yeah. I think coming out of the pandemic, everything has been a little chaotic. And I think that has led to a lot of challenges for public education in terms of declining enrollment, people choosing to keep their kids either at home or go to other places that they got exposed to when schools changed for the pandemic. I think that, obviously the political climate is divisive, which causes people to mistrust, large institutions like school districts and government, quasi-government functions. And I think all of that leads to funding issues. People are less willing to vote yes for things that they don't understand, that they don't feel like they're using. So I would say that building trust with the community is a challenge. Funding, obviously, especially with declining enrollment, and making sure that the students who are at the school are supported and feel like they belong. I think are not just challenges that Kent has, but are happening here too.
Thank you. The Kent School District is focused on closing the achievement gap that exists between student groups. For example, special education, ESL, income, and race. What are your thoughts and ideas on addressing the gaps?
Mm-hmm. That's actually something that I have gotten to witness firsthand at Emerald Park. Because they were just awarded with one of the recognition from the state for closing a gap in multiracial student growth. And so I have watched over the past 2 years as from the principal down through the staff have worked to identify who those students are, what sort of supports they need, and create clear plans to bring those numbers up and get that education change happening so that they are improving. And so I think that that's something that data is required, data that makes sense, not data that's so aggregated that it just comes out in averages and you can't even see where the gaps are. I think ensuring that you're looking at the right gaps and creating plans tailored to those specific needs is really important. And so that is ensuring that the data is good and accurate would be one idea.
Thank you.
All right, I just want to point out, this is question 6, and you have 22 minutes left. And the questions that we have, it looks like, are altogether 17?
There's 17.
17 questions. Why do you think it's important to address equity and inclusion issues as a board member, and what are some ways you have or might do that?
So I think that equity is woven through everything. I think that people need to feel as though they belong, and that sense of belonging can create inequities if they don't feel like they have it. People who are getting an equitable experience will feel more trust, more confidence. They'll believe in the institution, whatever it is, whether it's school or anything else. And so I think that people need to see themselves in the place in order to trust it. And so I think using whatever you can to increase that sense of belonging, to create more inclusion, builds trust, which then leads to happier people. One of the things that I did on the professional side, I was on a committee for diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging for the industry, the American Council of Engineering Companies, their board committee, and I co-chaired that committee for 5 years. And the general makeup of the engineering industry is very old and white and male, and there are a lot of small, diverse businesses who are trying to get into that. And so that was the focus of the committee, was how do we ensure that small, diverse businesses have a place at the table. And so looking to industry groups, other organizations to figure out how to do that. What were the barriers to getting them included? And so I think I could bring some of that experience to help push forward equity and inclusion here too.
Thank you.
What aspects of racial equity and equity in education do you think you have to learn more about, and how would you go about doing it?
What I learned from that board experience was that I have a lot to learn. I am privileged as a white person to not have experienced very many racial inequalities in my life. And so I learned a lot through the co-committee members on that group just about what those barriers look like for a Black female entrepreneur, or if you're a first generation American and you're trying to start a business and maybe English isn't your first language. So I learned a lot about the challenges, and I am not knowing everything. I know that for sure. And so I am eager to listen, especially as it relates to school community and the Kent community, get involved in those community organizations where people who face barriers are, and learn more about what those are, how the district can help them, what those gaps are. So always interested in learning more and being in the room where the people are telling us what that is.
What interests or personal qualities will you bring to this position, and how will they enrich the current board?
I think one thing that I'm good at, I really like to listen to what's going on and understand why something's happening the way it is, whether that's why you personally, what you are bringing to the table and why that is impacting you. Understanding the why behind things is really, really important to me, so that then I can help find a solution that solves for that why. And it might not be the path I would have taken or the decision I would have made, but if it serves the need at the end, that's what ultimately matters to me. And so I think that my ability to communicate with people of all different places on the spectrum of a decision or knowledge, I think is really powerful and important. And I think it's something that I can bring to the board, absolutely. And just in general, big picture, I'm very interested in making Kent better. Like, as a personal interest, like, I love it here. I got my cousin to move here. Like, I really want to be here, and I want people to want to be here too. And so just that love of the community, I think, is also, maybe you all have that, I don't know, but I would bring that.
What is your approach to dealing with discussions about potentially difficult topics, such as race, religion, politics, or sexual orientation? Please provide a specific example.
Great. I have had, I guess it's not quite on sexual orientation, but we, at the engineering firm, there was a big divide between people who have engineering degrees and people who don't. And that caused a lot of segregation and discrimination, if you will, on those topics, which are not the same as race and religion, and I understand that. But that was something that I had to work really hard at as the director of communications, to make sure that we were not saying something at a, from an executive that was gonna completely outcast a whole group of people at the firm. And so having those discussions with the CEO to talk through that word choice is offensive to those people. And you can say that, but you'll be trading on culture and trust for your word choice. You don't, that's maybe not the best idea. And understanding that from a director of communications point of view, I have to help communicate what the director executive wants. But it's important to advise them to do it in the way that has the least consequences and makes the most impact and that goes back to the why. Why are you trying to say this thing? Is there then a better way to say it? And so I wasn't required to have difficult conversations about race and religion very often, and so I could give you like a stupid answer. But I think to me, that was a very similar, that was tough. Those were very separate groups, and trying to get them to come together and understand each other's opinions was a lot often, so.
Thank you.
All right, question number 10 out of 17, and we're at just over 14 and a half minutes. How would you help the board connect with individuals and organizations to benefit the district's students?
This is one that I actually talk about all the time, and I have never made happen, but I would love to still do it. My connections with the engineering industry, I feel like could be used so much more for STEM purposes through the district. I know that the work just that the firm I worked for did, was for the Highline High School, that's the aviation building. Like, they are doing all the Kent Levy work. Like, there's so much local work happening, like, in a small radius around our community, that I know the engineers and the construction workers, I know all of those people. And if there was a way to build some kind of partnership that created more knowledge of what those jobs look like, the engineering industry is in decline. People are not going into the earth sciences engineering anymore because they're all going into tech engineering. And to give clear vision of what this can look like to be a geotechnical engineer or a river scientist, there's so many jobs out there. And I think that would just be really cool for more people to explore. So that's one. And then through my relationship with the board committee I was on for DEIB, I have a lot of relationships with the different, the transportation minority groups, different entities that are focused on DEIB, diversity type things in that same vein, though, in still engineering. But I think that those would be interesting connections to bring.
Describe a time when you needed to work cooperatively with someone that did not share the same ideas as you. Describe the situation, the actions you took, the outcome, and what you learned.
I will go back to the person I was describing in the prior story. So the CEO of the firm that I was at had in this story. He'd been there about 6 months in the position. The company had gone through an industry peer review, and so industry people come in, ask the employees a million questions, do all sorts of surveys, and then they take their professional knowledge and they put together a report. The back of the report contains like the literal survey data and the transcribed interviews. The CEO wanted to publish the full report, including the comments, to the entire staff. He was worried that it's one of his first major things as CEO. He doesn't want to look like he's hiding anything. People know that that part of the report exists. So if he doesn't show it, he's hiding something. He's not being transparent. So he wants to share it all. But if you read through that stuff, especially without context, there are departments named. You can very quickly get to individual people who this is the only person in the company who does this thing, and that's being commented on. Now that person knows, they're in there. And so I had to tell him that it was probably not a good idea to release the full report. He should instead, provide like a cover letter or some kind of preamble to it, not put in the appendices, and create context for it, because you needed more information than just what it was. And he declined to do that, and he sent the entire report to everyone, and it caused a lot of problems. There were quite a few people who felt personally called out. People commented that even people who had said some of the things were like, if I had known everyone was going to see what I had said, I wouldn't have said that. And then the people who knew they were being talked about were like, oh, they were talking about me. And the morale around that just dropped, and it actually made him look less trustworthy, because now you're afraid to participate in the process because you don't know what's going to happen with the results of it. And so that was really challenging. It was very challenging for me to tell him I don't think this is a good idea. It was very upsetting for him to tell me that he didn't really want to listen to my opinion. And in the end, he was the CEO. He gets to decide. It's his decision. And so now it's done. And then I had to stand behind and put out the document and promote it in all the ways he wanted, and ultimately do the director of communication tasks, even though I disagreed with the fact that it was happening. So that was a challenging situation.
Thank you.
Define what you consider to be the role of a board member within the community.
I think that ultimately the board is responsible for setting policy, creating priorities, understanding what the advocacy for whatever's going on. So I think an individual board member obviously needs to engage in knowing, like becoming educated and knowledgeable on what that is, what the different projects are, what's going on in the district, so that they can make informed policy decisions and vote in a way that is backed up with data and information. And then I also know that, one of the most important jobs is hiring and evaluating the superintendent, which is, CEO, superintendent, I feel are the same in that sense. And then ensuring that the, expectations are set, things are communicated properly. And one thing that they used to say on the board at the engineering firm is that the board needs to be nose in, fingers out. So I've always remembered that. So you need to have your nose in it, you need to know what's going on, but you should not have your fingers in the day-to-day operations. And so keeping that high level look at it, and not micromanaging the minutia.
Thank you. Upon receiving your notice for your interview, you are asked to review Board Policy 1610, Conflicts of Interest, the board and superintendent, Board Policy 1002, Code of Ethics and Standards, Board Policy 1005, the key functions of the board, Board Resolution 1600, revised protocol guidelines, RCW 42.23.030, interests in contracts prohibited exceptions, and RCW 42.23.070, prohibited acts. Do you foresee a conflict based on your advanced review of that would prevent you from serving in this role?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, this is question 14. You have about 7 minutes left out of 17 questions. Describe the ideal relationship between the school board and the superintendent.
I think that the relationship between the board and the superintendent should be based in mutual trust. Trust that the school board is going to govern and create governance, and trust that the superintendent is going to execute on whatever it is. And I think it's really important to make sure that the superintendent is set up for success with clear expectations of performance, of goals, outcomes, et cetera, and then is held accountable to those things as well. I think that the relationship that the board and the superintendent have as separate entities and as, one, the district, to the community plays an important part in that too. And so I think that both are also, it's important for both to recognize the difference in that relationship to the community as well, and that the community needs votes for the board. They need to be representing their constituents and ensuring that they're listening to what the community wants and how that influences the relationship with the superintendent, and that the superintendent is out in the community hearing, seeing, learning, and can bring that back too and make sure that the board, the presentations to the board reflect what's going on, what the people want, so that the board can make good decisions. So that's my answer.
What is your understanding of the typical school district funding model, and how would you enhance it?
I have 2 degrees in words because I don't do numbers. I'm kidding. I know that property taxes the local property taxes influence the school funding. I know that there is the McCleary decision policy for the state of Washington that requires, free basic education to all students. And then obviously there's federal funding, which is based on enrollment and different demographics, low income, et cetera, to create like title schools, all that. So I recognize that it comes from a variety of governmental places. But I think that it is possible to influence that and enhance that through local bonds, levies, grant applications, all of that. And I think that's really where having that community trust and having open communication with the local taxpayer, homeowner, voter, to ensure that they understand what's happening, understand what their votes would go for, so that they want to vote for funding, levies, bonds, I think is an important aspect of the funding model that we can influence through choices every day.
Regular board meetings, work sessions, and executive sessions occur on the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month, with special meetings frequently scheduled as needed on alternate Wednesdays. Additionally, you were provided with an in-depth information related to board calendaring and required attendance and advance review/preparation for regular meetings, work sessions, special meetings, board policies, joint meetings, retreats, school visits, school community events, attendance of school graduations, and state-mandated training. Is there anything that would prevent you from participating in these required meetings and activities, and what type of support would you need to be successful in this role?
That is a lot of a question. I think in short that I can do all those things. That's fine. I don't foresee any reason why I can't. Wednesdays are the best day for me, in fact, so that's good. As long as there's advance notice, that's all I need.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us?
I think
And you do have the remainder of time to be able to speak.
perfect. I'm really excited to be doing this. I think this is something that I've always had in the back of my mind, that I would really like to participate in public service in this way. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that today, at least. And I think that my professional experience, my education, my lived experience, I think sets me up for this really, really well. I have spent my entire adult life working to build trust with people, communicate with them, build allegiances, alliances, like friendships, like whatever that may be, and bring people together. And I think that that's something that is really important to me. And I tell people all the time, I'm a joiner. You can get me to, you just ask twice and I'll do it. And I'm not doing this for like the volunteer opportunity. I'm doing this because I really believe that I can make a difference and that I would really like to do that here. And it is the most meaningful use of my time right now. And so I appreciate the opportunity. That's all.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. If you could say your last name for me one more time so I can make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Brakes.
Brakes.
Yes.
Does that sound correct?
Yeah.
Stephanie Brakes.
Yes.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank
You
you.
are welcome to stay for the remainder of the interviews here in the audience, or we can have one of our staff escort you to the break room.
Okay. My family will kill me if I stay the whole time. So. The children. Thank
It
you.
looks like somebody's taking a nap.
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you.
I'll join you. Thank you.
May I have 2 minutes?
Yes. We're going to go ahead and take a break. We will start up again to our normal schedule at 5:40. It is 5:40, and we are going to resume with our interviews. We now have our second candidate, Christopher Vasquez. Am I pronouncing that correct?
Christopher Vasquez.
Christopher
Vasquez.
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 Thank you. Thank you for the correction. You will have 30 minutes. We have 17 questions, and then we'll just do a round robin for all of those.
Okay.
And then you should have water and a piece of paper and pen to be able to write down anything if you so choose. Okay. Tell us about yourself and why you want to be a board member.
So yeah, I'm Christopher Vasquez. I am a certified human resource professional. I currently work for the state of Washington, where my focus is on organizational compliance. More specifically, I translate complex state laws like RCWs, WACs, and executive orders into like functional agency policy and best practices. I also bring a strong foundation in labor relations from my experience navigating collective bargaining agreements. I'm here today because I truly believe that my connection to Kent, which has stemmed from working with families, specifically Spanish-speaking families, through food drives and other events. I also partner with local youth leaders to provide career guidance to young adults and some of our students. And I also think that these connections can help us become more transparent to the public. I mean, I am someone who advocates for not only fiscal oversight, but I think that we should, there are other ways to go about our issues being the $30 million deficit, an expiring levy, and the decline of nearly 800 students. And what the public, or what students, educators, and even our parents need is someone who can advocate for them, and I can do it in both English and in Spanish.
Thank you.
All right. I told the last interviewee also that I was not involved in creating these questions, so I'm just asking them. They're created by others. What are your experiences in the public school K-12 system as either an employee, parent, and/or volunteer?
As a volunteer, I would say that my biggest time spent for a K-12 school district is I provide career guidance, and it not only is career guidance, but it's also financial guidance, whereas I explain to our low-income students or even parents about resources for retirement, resources like food drives, housing. I work for a housing agency, so I understand that some of our students are suffering through that, and a student cannot learn without feeling secure, as some of our students are in survival mode. I know there's programs such as, I think it's called like Kids in Transition, which help deal with this, but yeah, that's pretty much what I've been dealing with.
Thank you.
How would your lived and professional experience impact and inform your approach to building a healthy and collaborative learning community as a board member in service of students, their families, and staff?
Well, as someone who has been through the low-income school and housing sector, I do understand that people and students like someone who advocates for them and shows them these types of resources. I truly think that students need that support and help, no matter where they're at, and yeah.
Thank you.
What would you consider to be the challenges in public education today, and how would you prioritize these challenges?
Yeah, so right now, as we're dealing with this deficit, there's a possibility of classroom sizes increasing, and that not only takes away time from the students and teacher instruction, but it also is, I think it's more so that it's like putting a burden and it's a strain on the teachers, which therefore translates to students not feeling the energy that they require. And the way that they can go about this is, as a board, I think you guys can safely leverage technology to automate like lesson differentiation and streamline administrative tasks so that they don't face that burden alone.
The Kent School District, The Kent School District is focused on closing the achievement gap that exists between student groups. For example, special education, ESL, income, and race. What are your thoughts and ideas on addressing the gaps?
Well, when it comes to the distribution of resources, I believe we should first look at the data and figure out which most vulnerable group needs it the most, and then we work from there. But as mentioned in the last board meeting, there needs to be more support in these areas because this is what keeps our parents here. If we lack funding in these areas, they're going to leave us, and then that also creates a lack of trust within us. But I would prioritize the most vulnerable groups first and then work from there.
All right, this is question 6, and you have 24 and a half minutes or so. Why do you think it's important to address equity and inclusion issues as a board member, and what are some ways you have or might do that? This is also 17 questions altogether, just letting you know.
Okay. So equity to me isn't an abstract concept. I apply DEI principles in my work right now. For this specific case, it's more so of a practical way of distributing resources to our students. Our focus should always be obviously the students, but which students need it the most. When it comes to equity, we're looking to making sure our policies don't just look good on paper, but are helping serve the students who need it the most. Yeah.
Thank you.
What aspects of racial equity and equity, What aspects of racial equity and equity in education do you think you have to learn more about, and how would you go about doing it?
I feel like it's more of the language barrier piece to it. We're a highly multilingual body, so there is many languages that we need to translate. Something I've noticed for like the live streams itself, I wasn't able to find like an accessible feature for translations. And the way I would go about it is figuring out a way through our technology means to translate multiple languages, not just English. And that also causes some disconnect, more specifically like the people I know who speak Spanish, who truly don't know what's going on unless if their kid is trying to translate it, but students aren't always at the capacity yet.
What interests or personal qualities will you bring to this position, and how will they enrich the current board?
Yeah, I work a lot within a compliance-based environment, whether it's dealing with a WAC, executive order, or RCW. And so I'm pretty compliant on that side. And then not only that, I'm pretty good with technology. I've done short-form content to promote things such as nonprofit work for our students. I used to work for a place called Rhizome as a community organizer. And here we would gather our students to do volunteer work for the community, events such as helping the fires in Hawaii or even doing something as cleaning up a neighborhood.
What is your approach to dealing with discussions about potentially difficult topics, such as race, religion, politics, or sexual orientation? Please provide a specific example.
Yeah, so in my previous work experience, I used to work for a company operating with the union, and some of those situations were based on pronouns and things of that matter, where I've had an employee or even a customer come up to me and let me know that they weren't being respected or being called a certain way. And obviously, everyone has a different belief, but ultimately you want to respect the person because they have the right to feel safe in their own body. But then when it comes to politics, you don't want, we're not a political organization by any means. We're supposed to protect our students and advocate for proper education. And proper education means covering a whole different variety of subjects, whether it's politics, religion, creed. And we're supposed to mitigate that by looking at it holistically and making sure that, one, it's not causing self-harm to one specific person, because we're looking at the entire district, not just one individual.
All right, this is question number 10 out of 17, and you have just under 21 minutes. How would you help the board connect with individuals and organizations to benefit the district's students?
Yeah, so my biggest leverage is my Spanish speaking abilities. I'm able to break down complex ideas and messages into digestible pieces of information for one, the Spanish speaking communities, but also for our students, because ultimately our students will be more in tune with what's going on in the district, and they will be the ones speaking to their parents. As I mentioned before, I used to make short form content to promote ideas or messages, and then ultimately they were being shared to the parents.
Thank you.
Describe a time when you needed to work cooperatively with someone that did not share the same ideas as you. Describe the situation, the actions you took, the outcome, and what you learned.
Yeah, so I truly believe that healthy debate is necessary for the board. It's not a sign of weakness. And in my past work experiences, I have brought people together with opposing views for a path forward. I usually just approach it by removing the person from their position. And when you have to respect the dialogue, and then you have to have a shared goal. And in this case, I had a disagreement with a previous supervisor on how to approach a huge issue, but ultimately we have to come down to figure out what the shared goal is. In this specific case, it was a compliance issue based on a harassment case, and we have to see what's the liability and how can we solve this properly without making it blow up. But yeah.
Define what you consider to be the role of a board member within the community.
Yeah, a board member can mean a whole lot of different things. One of the clear examples is that we govern through policy, and we're not here to manage the daily operations. If I were to have a complaint or something from a parent, I think my first approach would be to listen with empathy, and that's like one of the main skills needed to be a director is the empathetic approach. In this situation, let's say I have a complaint from a parent, I will listen with empathy, I will validate your concern, but then I will explain what the board really does, which is govern through policy and set budgets, but then I would guide them to the correct appropriate chain of command.
Upon receiving your notice for your interview, you were asked to review Board Policy 1610, Conflicts of Interest, Board and Superintendent, Board Policy 1002, Code of Ethics and Standards, Board Policy 1005, the Key Functions of the Board, Board Resolution 1600, Revised Protocol Guidelines, RCW 42-23030, Interest in Contracts Prohibited Exceptions, and RCW 42-23070, Prohibited Acts. Do you foresee a conflict based on your advanced review that would prevent you from serving in this role?
No.
Thank you.
All right. We are on number 14. There's about 17 and a half minutes left, and there are 17 questions. Describe the ideal relationship between the school board and the superintendent.
Yeah, we're here. He's the only person, or they're the only person that we manage directly. When it comes to managing the superintendent, it would be based on the strategic plan and goals that we have set. But part of it is that we must provide continuous feedback consistently so they know where they stand. And yeah, that's the only person we truly manage. We don't manage anything else.
Thank you.
What is your understanding of the typical school district funding model, and how would you enhance it?
Yeah, so first we have a board policy which states that we must keep our 5% mandatory reserves that ensure our long-term fiscal health. And the way I would provide a solution with the deficit is, like I mentioned earlier, using technology. More so case like you have a whole lot of AI products that are not only free, but we currently use in the district. We have talent that we can use that would help streamline this product, such as our IT folks or folks that already work with technology. And we're not going to add any more work to our educators or our staff as we already did significant reductions to the central administration. So we want to make their job easier than what they're dealing with now.
Regular board meetings, work sessions, and executive sessions occur on the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month, with special meetings frequently scheduled as needed on alternate Wednesdays. Additionally, you were provided with an in-depth information related to board calendaring and required attendance and advance review preparation for regular meetings, work sessions, special meetings, board policies, joint meetings, retreats, school visits, school community events, attendance of school graduations, and state-mandated training. Is there anything that would prevent you from participating in these required meetings and activities, and what types of supports would you need to be successful in this role?
I have nothing that prevents me from attending anything.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you repeat that one?
I have nothing that prevents me from attending any of these meetings.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. Thank you. So now you have about 15 minutes, and the last question is there anything else that you would like to share with us? And you can take the entire time or as much of it as you would like.
No, but I do have one question, and for this future board director, what are their priorities for the next 90 days?
Unfortunately, how the structure of this goes is it's not a two-way dialogue. We can only ask
Oh,
the
okay,
questions.
okay,
I
okay, okay.
know.
No, no worries,
I'm
no worries.
sorry, just for fairness of all of our candidates. So, but you do have this time to be able to answer the questions. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much. So you are welcome to stay for the next candidate's interview if you would like to, or one of our staff, Ms. Holly, will escort you to our waiting room. Great.
Okay,
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Could you bring back our third candidate?
Just keep going. Executive session still starts at the same time.
It does. Okay, we'll just take a long break. Okay.
Did they receive this time?
Good evening, Mr. Hall. You can just sit there. And just let me make sure that I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Jimmy Call?
Correct.
Wonderful. You do have a bottle of water. Please feel free to use that. We also have paper and pen there for if you want to take notes or anything. You will have 30 minutes. We have 17 questions. We will do a round robin, or we'll get through as many of the 17 questions within that 30 minutes, and we just do a round robin for each of the questions. Our first question is, tell us about yourself and why you want to be a board member.
I spend most of my days now in a truck driving Monday to Friday. Weekends, I don't work at all. I spend the time with my kids as much as possible and things that need to be done around home. I'm on a list. I got an email that there was an opening, and I was kind of joking about it at home. And, I have the kids in school. They're in 3rd and 5th grade, and it was a thing that could approach to maybe be social, working with other people is one of my better. I used to do telephone installation from Montauk to Brooklyn, and dealing with people on a daily basis was what I do. And I miss sometimes dealing with people. Sometimes it's nice just driving around the state, moving containers from the port to where they need to go. And I've been here since 2012 doing that, and maybe I'm looking to branch out a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I told the previous candidates that just the same information. The questions I didn't come up with, they were decided outside of me, but I'll go ahead and ask them anyway. My first question is, what are your experiences in the public school K-12 system as either an employee, parent, or volunteer?
For the last several years, I've been involved as a parent. I've done a few field trips, evening meetings with the teachers and the students. The sports athletic, when they go over to Kent Kangley, my daughter participated in that, and I know the coaches there. That's pretty much it. I don't have any employment or volunteer work with the schools per se to speak of.
Thank you. How would your lived and professional experience impact and inform your approach to building a healthy and collaborative learning community as a board member in service of students, their families, and staff?
Could you repeat that?
Of course.
I'm sorry.
How would your lived and professional experience impact and inform your approach to building a healthy and collaborative learning community as a board member in service of students, their families, and staff?
How would I let myself impact?
Can I summarize?
Just,
You can repeat the question.
Yes, ma'am. How would your lived and professional
wait,
experience?
how would I what?
How would your lived and professional experience
Lived and professional experience.
impact and inform your approach to building a healthy and collaborative learning community as a board member in service of students, their families, and staff?
I can offer a rounded experience of dealing with people and from kids to adults in a semi to professional manner. I might be a little rusty around the edges right now. Keeping a fair and unbiased outlook to life and a good human living experience for everybody. Basically, keeping it human is important.
Thank you.
What would you consider to be the challenges in public education today, and how would you prioritize these challenges?
Challenges in today's education. I don't see the kids getting any homework. That's a weird thing for me. I grew up every night, I'd go home, do a little bit of homework. You know, the parents knew what I was doing. They could help me out with things. I don't see my kids getting any homework at all. I've got to really pry to know what they're up to and maybe even communicate with the teachers. I don't know how to change that or if it needs to be changed. They seem to be doing okay. They're still in, grade school levels, so I don't have much else to say about what goes on. I'm pretty much a new green leaf.
Thank you.
Yes.
The Kent School District is focused on closing the achievement gap that exists between student groups. For example, special education, ESL, income, and race. What are your thoughts and ideas on addressing the gaps?
What is ESL?
English is a second language. It's our students that
From other countries?
the English is their second language.
Right. Or just learning English, maybe? Or they, okay. Knowing that, could you repeat that question,
course.
please? I'm sorry.
The Kent School District is focused on closing the achievement gap that exists between student groups. For example, special education, ESL, income, and race. What are your thoughts and ideas on addressing the gaps?
That's a tough one, because everybody's pulling in different directions. And some pull harder than others. I would have to immerse into it and see what's going on, and off the cuff, you'd have to identify with each group. I mean, if you have it broken up into specific groups, you'd probably have to identify with each group and try to bring the levels of each of them up into the same spectrum. And musically speaking, orient each frequency of what's going on. And maybe if they're separate, introduce them to each other and finesse a way for people to get along.
Thank you.
All right, so this is question number 6. You have about 23 minutes left, and there are 17 questions altogether. Why do you think it's important to address equity and inclusion issues as a board member, and what are some ways you have or might do that?
Equity being financial situation.
The only thing I can do is reread the question, but I'll do that for you.
I'm not sure of the definition of equity, though.
I understand. I can't do anything other than reread it, so
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'll go through that again.
Thanks.
Why do you think it's important to address equity and inclusion issues as a board member, and what are some ways you have or might do that?
Can I pull a lifeline on my phone?
I have no idea. I don't know the rules, sorry.
Can I have 10 seconds to look up a definition?
Mr. Laird?
Can he look up a definition? Yeah.
So as long as it's within the time.
Yep, yeah.
Sorry, put it in airplane mode. Come on. Get out of there. Ownership, fairness, remaining asset, deducting liabilities. No, that's. It's taking me in the wrong direction. Equity and inclusion is, to the best of my knowledge, wrapping different human beings together to coexist. And the question is, what do I have to offer to that?
I can read it again.
Please.
Why do you think it's important to address equity and inclusion issues as a board member, and what are some ways you have or might do that?
I think that different humans have different needs, and you can address each one as needed on a fair basis.
Thank you.
Yes.
What aspects of racial equity and equity in education do you think you have to learn more about, and how would you go about doing it?
On a personal level, do I need to learn? I've dealt with culture from the East Coast of America to the West Coast of America and the different makeups in between. I'm not familiar with all the cultures from around the world, so I'm sure that there's some stuff that I have open to learn. Yeah.
What interests or personal qualities will you bring to this position, and how will they enrich the current board?
I can temper my speaking abilities better, I'm sure, but I can bring a healthy background of dealing with people and on a professional level, as far as some of my history goes. This is going way back to my earlier years, doing telephone installation for 3 years around the New York area. You deal with situations with people, and on a professional level. You know, you're in their home and running things through their walls and keeping everything good. And it was something I could have retired from if I didn't have itchy feet to run around because I was so young. I tended to go more outdoors with stuff and stray from people a lot. But I think that I can bring a pretty good perspective from a human nature of things. Yeah.
What is your approach to dealing with discussions about potentially difficult topics, such as race, religion, politics, or sexual orientation? Please provide a specific example.
Please repeat the first part of this.
Of course. What is your approach to dealing with discussions about potentially difficult topics, such as race, religion, politics, or sexual orientation? Please provide a specific example.
A specific example. I had neighbors down the block, and I heard noise out in the yard. We have some chickens, and there was a lot of noise. And I come around the corner, and 2 kids are over there, and there's this little dog running around. Like, we're sorry, mister. I'm like, no, it's all right. The chickens are going to eat your dog, you know? And this was a family that were from Guam. And so the puppy, the kid that had the puppy didn't really know. He's like, we've never had a dog before. Am I holding it right? I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good, you know? I'm like, you know, supportive from here and whatnot. And the dog looked a little thin and skinny. They told me that it got dumped on them during the holiday because somebody couldn't keep it and they received it as a gift. So I took my daughter Allison and we went up to the store and we got a bag of puppy chow. And we go to the door and I knock and the mom comes to the door and she doesn't speak English. It's like, hi, is so-and-so? Oh, yeah, he's here. Hold on. I'm like, all right, we bought him some puppy chow. And she's like, oh, puppy, yeah, hold on. She closes the door and she comes back with the puppy in a box. And she's like, here, you take puppy. I'm like, no. Allison's like, yeah. So, I mean, multicultural, you know, you make communication through and through and make the best of what you can. So now we have a dog for 2 years, and I had parvo. That's why I was so thin, and I put it through the vet, and we ended up saving it, which was really cool. And now we have a puppy, and they moved, but their kids were cool, and they didn't do much English, and they were from a little island. Yeah. There's all sorts of different situations, probably. You know, I've been to the Hasidics' apartments, and they have a Torah on the door, and on certain days, they just don't want to be hassled, but, you know, they have a work order in for telephone repair. So you got to make, you know, we can do what we can from outside, but we can't come inside and fix, you know, you'll have to reschedule the appointment and negotiate that with them. So it depends on the situation, but, you know, you approach everybody with humanness, and I think it comes out all right.
Thank you.
All right, we're at question number 10 out of 17, and we have about 14 minutes.
Okay.
How would you help the board connect with individuals and organizations to benefit the district's students?
I would have to become aware of the needs and then cross-reference maybe to any situation that could help that. Be it a company or something, maybe, gosh, I know with the sports that Coach Wood and his partner there, they do a lot of work. And they get help from one guy. He brought in some training equipment for the kids to use. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff that can be done. But, you know, once you see the situation, I think it might, you know, it's like a vine growing. You don't know which way it's going to go, but, you know, you can direct it and help it out.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Of course.
Describe a time when you needed to work cooperatively with someone that did not share the same ideas as you. Describe the situation, the actions you took, the outcome, and what you learned.
Have to be coming out of fixing a negative situation, or just a situation where you didn't get along, or?
Describe a time when you needed to work cooperatively with someone that did not share the same ideas as you.
Okay. For a while, when I first started driving truck, I worked for a company. And I put my year in, and I looked around, and the pay around for a one-year experience wasn't great. So I stayed with the company. And I went into training, and I would take the newbies coming out of truck driving school and run with them for a few weeks and teach them the ropes and whatnot on the road. Company paperwork, whatnot, where to stop, where not to stop. A couple of clients, couple customers, that always changed. So I have a couple stories from that. I was told to pick up a girl at a truck stop in Florida. And when I got there, I didn't see anybody on the truck side of the truck stop. There was a girl up front who had a mountain of stuff by the newspaper stand. And it turns out that she was the person that I was going to be riding, training. She was a nice girl, very loud and boisterous at times. I'd be driving and the truck would be shaking. She's like, "I'm just doing calisthenics back here in the back." I'm like, "Oh my God, all right, well, that's cool, you know, whatever, you know." It got rough at times. I got through the weeks with her, and at the end, it was pretty okay. I mean, I could put that she was, you know, of a darker skin persuasion than myself. I don't think that matters, but it was an interesting time, and I coped with it, and we got through it. And I don't know how she did with the company, you know. I didn't hear back from a lot of the people, but we both came through it alive. Because, man, some of them people can't drive, and you don't get a lot of sleep when you're trying to. Yeah, she woke up, I woke up in between two trees in the desert in New Mexico. And she's like, "I just got off at this exit because I thought there was something here." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I think I can get the truck out of the sand pit between the two trees on the side of a highway at midnight." "Yeah, sure, all right." So that was interesting. And we coped through it and got out alive, and it was all right. I don't know if that answers the question. I think I went a little off there.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Define what you consider to be the role of a board member within the community.
I've never given it much thought, actually, until my kids were in school. I suppose it's, you're directing kids of all sorts and into being decent humans on this planet. Yeah, and it's a pretty important thing. And just if you keep yourself as a good human being, I think that that's a good thing. I know I say that a lot, but that's pretty much my best term to describe it, I think.
Great, thank you. Upon receiving notice for your interview, you were asked to review Board Policy 1610, Conflicts of Interest, Board Superintendent, Board Policy 1002, Code of Ethics and Standards, Board Policy 1005, the key functions of the board, Board Resolution 1600, Revised Protocol Guidelines, RCW 42-23030, Interest in Contracts Prohibited Exceptions, RCW 42-23070, Prohibited Acts. Do you foresee a conflict based on your advanced review that would prevent you from serving in this role?
No. No, I may not have remembered every one of them, but I did take the time to read and review them, and no, I don't think any of them work against me.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
All right, we're at number 14 out of 17, and you have just over 17 minutes left. Or 7 minutes left, sorry.
7.
Thank you. Describe the ideal relationship between the school board and the superintendent.
I have no idea. Aside from the little bit that I've read, where you have the president, you have the vice president, and then you have the other people in the board of, repeat that, please?
Yeah, sure. Describe the ideal relationship between the school board and the superintendent.
The ideal relationship between anybody would be one where you can communicate openly and pretty freely about ideas and situations that you may have to create or resolve. And keep things on an even keel.
Thank you.
Yes.
What is your understanding of the typical school district funding model, and how would you enhance it?
I honestly don't know. I don't know the finances of the school. I could go on talking about it, but it would be assumptions and little bits that I read on the readings that I read. I know some of it is from taxes, some of it's from the state, some of it is from donors, some of it is local income, some fundraisers. I mean, I don't know how I can say to make it work better or right, or other than it takes the intricate workings, I would think, that I am unfamiliar with at this time. Yeah.
Mine's a long one.
I'll give it my best.
Here we go. Regular board member meetings, work sessions, and executive sessions occur on the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month, with special meetings frequently scheduled as needed on alternative Wednesdays. Additionally, you were provided with an in-depth information related to board calendaring and required attendance and advance review preparation for regular meetings, work sessions, special meetings, board policy, joint meetings, retreats, school visits, school community events, attendance of school graduations, and state mandated training. Is there anything that would prevent you from participating in the required meetings and activities, and what types of support would you need to be successful in this role?
My job currently, and for the past decade plus, is such that I rarely know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do yet tomorrow. I have not received a dispatch, whether it's 5:30 starts, 7:30, 8:30. So I can put in, look, Wednesdays I'm going to stay local. I need to be off by this time. Appointments and dates on the fly, I can work in for the most part. I believe it shouldn't be much of a hassle.
Okay, thank you.
But I have a pretty good layout that I can work with.
Excellent.
Thank you. You do have just about 3 minutes left, and my final question is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
Sure. I'm a little rusty with working indoors and with people, but I used to be pretty good with it. I've never worked in an academic situation before, aside from myself going to school and extracurricular learnings, technical and whatnot. It's a new endeavor for me. It was kind of like first joked about, like, hey, you know, but what about if I did this? And this might be something neat that, you know, I mean, my kids are going to be here for the next 10 years. And if I can help direct things in any way that, you know, could be a good outcome for everybody. I think it's a pretty good school district. They've done pretty good so far, and I like that they have robotics next year. The technical edge is good. It's nice. I have some technical background that may come in handy. I've never worked on like any sort of board with official status or anything before. So this is a new endeavor for me, and I'm not sure what I have to offer, but I'll give it a damn good shot. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
A darn good shot. I'm sorry. I'm in school.
Oh, you weren't done. I'm so sorry.
No, I said a darn good shot. I said, I'm
Oh.
sorry. Because I'm in school, I said a damn good shot.
Thank you very much. You are welcome to stay. We are going to go into a break now until 7 p.m. And at 7 p.m., then we will be going into our executive session. And at this time, we'll have Ms. Holly escort you. I guess, actually, you can stay in the room if you want to, because we will just be in break. So it is 6:28. We will be followed by break until 7 p.m. At 7 p.m., we will move into executive session. I will ask for a motion to recess into executive session. At this time? Okay. I will ask for a motion to recess into executive session for 30 minutes. The executive session will begin at 7 p.m. The purpose of the executive session is to evaluate the qualifications of a candidate for appointment to elective office. Is there a motion on the floor?
I motion for us to have executive session to begin at 7 p.m. for 30 minutes.
Second.
A motion's been made and seconded for us to go into recess and then begin executive session at 7 p.m. for 30 minutes. That motion has been made and seconded. We're now open for discussion. Seeing as there is none, a motion's been made for us to recess and then move into executive session at 7 p.m. for 30 minutes. The purpose of the executive session is to evaluate the qualifications of a candidate for appointment to elective office. All those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. The motion passes 4-0. We are now currently in recess, starting at 6:29, and we'll begin our executive session at 7 p.m. for 30 minutes. It is now 7:30, and our executive session adjourned at 7:20 PM. In our executive session was Director Gregory, Director Williams, and myself in person, and Director Cook remotely. We are returning to this meeting to open session meeting following our executive session to publicly discuss the candidates' qualifications. The board will take action to select the new board director via nomination and roll call vote. We now move to section 5.0, discussion and approval. I will ask for nominations for Director District Number 1 appointee. Is there a nomination for Director District Number 1 appointee?
I nominate, sorry, names on here. Stephanie Brakes, is that right?
Stephanie Brakes?
Second, we have a second. Oh,
We don't actually need a second on this one.
okay, just want to make sure.
Is there any nominations for finalist number 2?
I nominate Jimmy Call.
Are there any nominations for finalist number 3? We are now closed for nominations. You will vote on each nominated finalist separately. Please only vote for one finalist. The vote will be by oral roll call, and a majority, 3, is required. When you are called to vote for the nominated finalist, say aye or no and raise your right hand. When 3 or more votes take place in favor of one nominee, that nominee wins and voting discontinues. In the event of a 2-2 tie or no majority, if there are 3 nominees and each receives a vote, voting will start over via a second round of roll call voting between the 2 board members who are tied, or all 3 if applicable. We are now calling for the vote for nominated finalist number 1, Stephanie Brakes. Director Cook, what is your vote for nominated finalist number 1, Stephanie Brakes?
Aye.
Director Williams, what is your vote for nominated finalist Stephanie Brakes?
No.
Vice President Gregory, what is your vote for nominated finalist 1, Stephanie Brakes?
Aye.
My stated vote for nominated finalist number 1, Stephanie Brakes, is aye. We have 3 aye votes for Stephanie Brakes, so we will discontinue roll call voting at this time. We'd like to congratulate Stephanie Brakes as our newly appointed director. Stephanie Brakes will take the oath of office on June 24th, 2026, regular board meeting. It is now 7:34, and we are adjourning the special meeting.